The Odyssey, guiding the cunning hero. If the Iliad shows us Athena as a goddess of war, strategic thinking applied to battle, the Odyssey reveals another aspect of her nature. Her role as a patient guide, a divine mentor who helps a hero navigate not through physical dangers alone, but through the complex challenges of returning home, reclaiming his place, and restoring order after long chaos. Odysseus, king of Ithaca, was Athena's favourite among all the Greek heroes. Of all the warriors who fought at Troy, none matched Odysseus for cunning intelligence, for the quick wit and clever planning that the Greeks called metis, the very quality embodied by Athena's mother. Odysseus was not the strongest warrior. That distinction belonged to Ajax or Heracles. He was not the swiftest. That was Achilles. He was not the best archer. Many surpassed him in that skill. But Odysseus's mind was sharper than any weapon. His ability to devise stratagems and adapt to circumstances was unmatched, and these were qualities that Athena prized above all others. Homer's Odyssey tells the story of Odysseus's 10-year journey home from Troy, a journey that should have taken weeks but instead stretched out across a decade, filled with divine interference, mortal temptation, and natural dangers. Throughout this journey, Athena watches, guides, and when necessary intervenes to help her favourite hero. At the very beginning of the Odyssey, we learn that Odysseus has been trapped for 7 years on the island of the nymph Calypso, who holds him there as her lover, preventing his return home. Meanwhile, in Ithaca, Odysseus's wife Penelope is besieged by suitors who assume Odysseus is dead and pressure her to remarry. These suitors consume Odysseus's wealth, abuse his hospitality, and plot to kill his son Telemachus. The Odyssey opens with Athena pleading Odysseus's case before Zeus and the assembled gods. Poseidon, still angry at Odysseus for blinding his son Polyphemus the Cyclops, opposes Odysseus's return, but Poseidon is temporarily absent from Olympus, visiting distant lands. Taking advantage of Poseidon's absence, Athena argues that Odysseus has suffered enough, that his intelligence and piety deserve reward, not endless punishment. Zeus agrees, and Athena is given permission to help Odysseus finally reach home. But Athena's help begins not with Odysseus himself, but with his son Telemachus. The goddess descends to Ithaca in disguise, taking the form of Mentes, an old family friend, and appears to Telemachus. She finds the young prince sitting among the arrogant suitors, daydreaming about his absent father, feeling helpless to change his situation. Athena, as Mentes, speaks to Telemachus with both encouragement and challenge. She tells him he must grow up, must stop being passive, must take action to assert his rights and seek news of his father. She advises him to call an assembly of the Ithacans, to denounce the suitors publicly, and then to journey forth to seek information about Odysseus's fate. Telemachus, inspired by Athena's words, begins to find his courage, begins to act rather than simply endure. This pattern repeats throughout the first 4 books of the Odyssey, often called the Telemachy, the story of Telemachus. Athena continues to appear to the young man in various disguises, guiding him to Pylos to speak with Nestor, then to Sparta to speak with Menelaus. Each step of this journey builds Telemachus's confidence, gives him experience in speaking with authority figures, teaches him about heroism and leadership through the stories Nestor and Menelaus tell about the Trojan War and its aftermath. Athena's patient cultivation of Telemachus demonstrates her understanding that helping the next generation is as important as helping the current one. Odysseus will need Telemachus's help when he finally returns, and Telemachus will need to be ready to be more than just a boy waiting for his father. By sending Telemachus on this journey, Athena ensures that father and son will be prepared to work together to reclaim Odysseus's kingdom. Meanwhile, Athena arranges for Odysseus's release from Calypso's island. Hermes delivers Zeus's command, and Calypso, though heartbroken, must let Odysseus go. Odysseus builds a raft and sets sail, but Poseidon, returning from his travels, discovers what has happened. The sea god sends a terrible storm that destroys Odysseus's raft and nearly drowns him. Athena, however, ensures that Odysseus survives. She calms the worst of the storm's fury and guides Odysseus to shore on the island of the Phaeacians, a civilized and prosperous people who will eventually provide Odysseus with ships to carry him the final distance to Ithaca. When Odysseus washes up on the beach, exhausted and naked, sleeping under a pile of leaves, Athena goes to the Phaeacian princess Nausicaa and sends her a dream, inspiring her to go to the beach to do laundry, ensuring that Nausicaa will discover Odysseus and bring him back to the palace. At the Phaeacian court, Odysseus tells the story of his adventures: the Lotus Eaters who made men forget their homes, the Cyclops Polyphemus whom Odysseus blinded, the witch Circe who transformed men into pigs, the journey to the underworld to consult the prophet Tiresias, the deadly sirens whose song lured sailors to their deaths, the passage between Scylla and Charybdis, the cattle of the sun god which Odysseus's men foolishly slaughtered, bringing destruction upon themselves. Through all these trials, Athena's absence is notable. She could not help Odysseus directly while Poseidon actively opposed him. But now, with the Phaeacians' help, Odysseus finally reaches Ithaca. And here, Athena's most significant intervention begins. When Odysseus wakes on the beach of his homeland, Athena has caused a mist to hide the familiar landmarks, so Odysseus does not immediately recognize where he is. She appears to him disguised as a young shepherd and converses with him. Odysseus, true to his cunning nature, immediately lies about his identity, inventing an elaborate false backstory. Athena smiles at this, pleased by Odysseus's careful nature, his unwillingness to trust even a seemingly harmless stranger. Then Athena reveals herself, and the goddess and the hero have a conversation that reveals their unique relationship. Athena explains that she has always watched over Odysseus, even when she could not directly intervene. She admires his intelligence, his careful planning, the way his mind works like hers. Odysseus, in turn, expresses his gratitude but also his caution, noting that gods can be fickle and that he needs to know what situation he faces at home before celebrating his return. Athena transforms Odysseus's appearance, making him look like an old beggar so he can enter his own palace unrecognized and assess the situation with the suitors. She tells him where to find his loyal swineherd Eumaeus, and she arranges for Telemachus to return from Sparta, so father and son can be reunited and plan their revenge together. The final books of the Odyssey describe Odysseus's careful planning, supported by Athena's guidance to kill the suitors and reclaim his kingdom. Athena ensures that Odysseus's bow, which no one but Odysseus can string, is available for the critical moment. When Odysseus and Telemachus fight the suitors, Athena perches in the rafters in the form of a swallow, watching the battle. She deflects arrows and spears that might kill Odysseus or Telemachus, but she does not simply destroy the suitors herself. She lets Odysseus earn his victory through his own skill and courage, providing just enough help to ensure success without robbing the hero of his agency. After the suitors are dead and Odysseus is reunited with Penelope, one final challenge remains. The families of the dead suitors, enraged at the slaughter, march on Odysseus's house seeking revenge. A battle seems imminent, one that could devastate Ithaca. But Athena, in the form of Mentor, an old friend of Odysseus, appears and brokers peace. With Zeus's backing, she demands that both sides lay down their arms, that the cycle of vengeance end, that Odysseus resume his rightful place as king under terms of peace and reconciliation. The Odyssey ends with Athena establishing peace and order in Ithaca, her intervention transforming what could have been ongoing bloodshed into a new beginning. This ending emphasizes Athena's role not just as a goddess of war, but as a goddess of civilization, of the wise ordering of society, of knowing when to fight and when to make peace. Odysseus's story, and Athena's role in it, offered the Greeks a different model of heroism than the Iliad's tale of Achilles. Odysseus was not invincible in battle, not driven by straightforward rage or simple honor. He was adaptable, intelligent, willing to use deception and disguise, patient enough to wait for the right moment to act. These were qualities that translated more readily to everyday life than Achilles' battlefield supremacy. And Athena's support of these qualities validated them, suggested that cunning intelligence was as heroic as physical courage. The relationship between Athena and Odysseus also gave the Greeks a model for how humans might relate to the divine. Unlike many divine-mortal relationships in Greek myth, which involve sexuality, violence, or simple commands from on high, Athena and Odysseus's relationship resembles a mentorship, even a friendship between kindred spirits. They respect each other, appreciate each other's intelligence, and work together toward shared goals. This suggested that the gods were not completely alien, not entirely incomprehensible, but could recognize and value the same qualities in humans that humans valued in themselves.